Hi, my name is Dr. Penelope Ironstone, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Communication Studies at Wilfrid Laurier University in Waterloo, Canada. Recently, I was asked, what is the most likely cause of a zombie apocalypse? Here is my answer. The zombie has become a significant figure in the popular culture of our new millennium, but this is not to say that it is a new invention. Originally attributed to undead people reanimated by voodoo practices in Haiti, what is meant by a zombie has been changed by its entry into the North American imaginary, primarily through the movies of George A. Romero and most notably in his Night of the Living Dead of 1968. Romero's zombies are different than the zombies we see today in such films as World War Z, Zombieland, or Shaun of the Dead, or in such television programs as The Walking Dead. But how are Romero's zombies different? With some deduction, we can follow the clues that Romero gave us to suggest that his reanimated corpses might be the result of radioactive contamination caused by an unidentified agent when a satellite crashes to Earth. Romero's very slow zombies can identify people and places from their lives, but they lack higher order cognition or thinking. They're like machines that attack the uninfected, eating their flesh. But these zombies are different than the zombies we see today. Today's zombies are still mindless and voracious. Some are slow and others are fast, but all are contagious. The zombies of today might better be called, following the term coined by Robert Smith, non mortis contagio. What this means is that zombification, the process of becoming a zombie, might best be imagined as a kind of contagious disease caused by an infectious agent like a virus, a bacterium, or a newer kind of infectious agent found to be the cause of bovine encephalopathy or mad cow disease, the prion. In fact, this is exactly what Robert Smith argued when he provided a mathematical model of a zombie pandemic. He used the models of epidemics and pandemics used in public health and epidemiology for other contagious diseases like influenza in order to show how a zombie outbreak might be spread and what likelihood there would be of stopping it by means of public health initiatives such as quarantine or vaccination. His conclusion in the paper he wrote on this in 2009 was that vaccination was the only hope for stopping a zombie pandemic in its tracks. Our imaginings of a zombie apocalypse owe a lot to our anxieties about contagious infectious diseases in general and what are called emerging infectious diseases in particular. Emerging infectious diseases are, as the moniker suggests, infectious diseases that cause concern for humans because they are either brand new to us or have come back over a long period of time. They're cause for concern because we don't or won't have immunity to them. The field of emerging infectious diseases took a page out of the lessons of the history of HIV and AIDS, showing that we should be concerned about microbes that we haven't encountered yet, because they might just be infectious enough, cause enough people to get sick and die, so as to cause widespread devastation, the collapse of the social order, and the devolution of humanity into a kind of anarchy and savagery that we associate with a coming apocalypse. Our imaginings of what a zombie pandemic might look like draw resources from a variety of sources, including looking backward to such dread diseases as the Black Plague or even the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918-1919. The Spanish flu pandemic, in which it is estimated that upwards of 50 million people may have died, many more people than ever died in battle in World War I, that it becomes something of a model for imagining any sort of pandemic today, including a zombie pandemic. Our contemporary zombies are figures that stand in for anxieties about infectious diseases that we can't predict or contain. These zombies were made popular by Max Brooks in his 2003 Zombie Survival Guide: Complete Protection from the Living Dead, and his later book World War Z: An Oral History of the Zombie War, which was recently made into a movie starring Brad Pitt. The book World War Z traces the spread of an infectious agent, solanum, across the globe. It shows how the first people became infected, how it spreads from rural areas to urban ones, how it travels with human hosts across the globe by way of speedy air travel, and ultimately how it spells geopolitical disaster and war as uninfected humans focus their energies on eradicating the zombie enemy. Societies collapse as people struggle to survive. In World War Z, the first infection takes place in rural China. This is not unlike our imaginings of pandemic influenza today and our fears that the next big influenza pandemic, a pandemic that it is thought could potentially cause hundreds of millions of deaths in our increasingly interconnected global world, the fear is that it will also emerge from this part of the world. Of course, China is not the only place new diseases might come from. In fact, what is most frightening are not only new microbes that might emerge to infect human animals, but also viruses that mutate by what is called recombination, the mixing of one or more existing viruses together to produce a new, potentially more powerful bug that we have not seen before. In my mind, there's an interesting coincidence of the reappearance of zombies with the release of the movie 28 Days Later in 2002 and the publication of the Zombie Survival Guide in 2003, and the first big infectious disease challenge of the 21st century in the form of severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS. From November of 2002 to July 2003, there were nearly 8,300 cases of SARS and 775 deaths in a number of countries, including in Canada. SARS sounded the alarm for global health security, causing agencies like the World Health Organization to step pandemic planning initiatives into overdrive. Most countries in the world now have pandemic preparedness plans, plans that were put into action during the H1N1 flu pandemic of 2009. The fact that this first pandemic of the 21st century didn't live up to all the media hype about it is something of a problem for us today, since it might make people less willing to do what they can to stem the tide of infection, including washing hands carefully, covering coughs, staying home while ill, and, of course, getting vaccinated. While most recent zombie stories point in the direction of microbes causing outbreaks, there are differences of opinion about where it might have originated and what kind of microbe that might be. The fast zombies infected by the rage virus in 28 Days Later, in which people are infected with a neurotrophic virus that causes them to attack the uninfected. In the graphic novel 28 Days Later, The Aftermath, we are told that the rage virus is developed when two scientists overstep the ethical bounds of science in an attempt to develop an inhibitor for aggressiveness, and the experiment backfires, unleashing a virus onto the world. In the film Zombieland, the primary causative agent comes first from the ingestion of tainted meat, and then is spread by blood fluid contact when the zombie bites. In each of these cases, the result is the same. Infected undead prowl the earth looking to feed insatiable appetites and infecting others as they do so. What comes first, the microbe or the bite? Clearly, this is no regular chicken and egg question. The microbe needs to come first before the bite can be infectious. But where the microbe comes from, while imagined in different ways by different people, suggests an awful lot about what the zombie represents in popular culture. Not just a figure of entertainment, we can say that the zombie comes to stand in for a variety of anxieties about our contemporary world. The zombie can stand in for anxieties about pandemic diseases, for example, about global interconnectedness and the speed with which viruses can travel around the world, about our anxieties that global disease ecologies have been indelibly disrupted by human expansion, or about the fear that climate change will uncover or unthaw microbes that have been lurking for eons in permafrost and in glaciers that are now melting. But our fascination with zombies can also say something about the fears that we've already become zombie-like ourselves, mindless, insatiable consumers of goods instead of flesh this time, who are driven by endless desires for more in a world governed by zombie economics, that is, economic philosophies and ideas that some argue should have died long ago, but continue to be trotted out as ideas that refuse to die.